40 Acres, directed by R.T. Thorne. A bunch of people in this, but the main characters you got are Haley, played by Danielle Deadwyler. Emmanuel is Kataem O'Connor. Galen, Michael Greyeyes, Rain, Lena Robinson. There's a bunch of people in here. I think Danielle Deadwyler is probably the most well-known actor in this bunch, known as Till and Watchmen, a bunch of things. This is a movie where you have to give the plot a little bit. The beginning, it's one of those movies that has titles that come up and tell you things like, and honestly, I forgot them a little bit, but it'll say things like 20 years ago, this special fungus hit the world and killed all of the animals, all the organic creatures in the earth except for man. 18 years ago, the society collapsed. And basically the idea is that you're in a post-apocalyptic world where there aren't any animals, but so farmland is like the most important thing in the world. And you're basically coming into this farm with this family, the Freeman family, and you're seeing really immediately what's going on in their world, which is, I don't want to say this, but to me, I just kept thinking of The Walking Dead. It really feels like a pretty good episode of The Walking Dead. And it's hard to say that. There aren't any zombies, put it that way. First of all, there aren't. It's like man is the most dangerous thing. It's that kind of a deal, right? You've got this kind of an encampment. It's their farm essentially where they grow. It looks like what they do is they grow pot. And they grow pot and they have a million guns in this bunker underneath their house. They've got a huge, like, armed bunker. And they trade with another farm nearby that basically gives them moonshine. And I guess somebody makes food. I don't know who does, but somebody makes food, or grows food. Anyway, and they have radios and they can call the other farms. But the basic idea is that they have their own little fortress. And the very beginning of the movie is this group of men have come into their fortress, and you see the group of men get immediately just dispatched. Like they're experts, everyone in the house, the whole family. And there's kids. There's basically about 6 people. There's the mother, Haley. There's the Galen, they didn't say if they're actually together as a romantic couple, but they're together as a unified couple within that world. So it's those 2 adults and then a bunch of their kids. So you've got that situation. You've got the people coming in, invading their encampment. They kill all the people that invade their encampment immediately. And then you see the rules of their world. You kind of watch their day-to-day life a little bit. You see them have to repair the fence. They've got an electrified fence. Like I said, they got a huge armory down in the basement. You see the mother contacting the other groups. They do check-ins. And they're finding out that the other encampments have been attacked and like basically destroyed or disappeared off of the radio map, have been destroyed by an unknown group that seems to be very lethal and very effective. And they're not really sure what's happening and why, but they're trying to figure it out. At the same time, they don't want to leave their encampment because it's dangerous. They don't go out very much. In fact, they tell the kids, you got to stay. And there's all these rules with the kids, and they're tough love kind of an attitude because everything out there is deadly. So you end up watching the oldest son quite a bit in this. And I guess the twist is the oldest son is out one day about nearby their camp looking in the woods and stuff. I forget what his reason of being out there is. I think they're going to, I don't know, scavenge some piece of some vehicle they found or something. And he sees a young woman in the water and he's smitten by her and he's wondering about her. And then a day or two later at night, she shows up on the outside of the fence line injured, and the oldest son takes her in, hides her in the barn, tries to kind of mend her back to health. And of course, that bringing a stranger into their encampment is a number one rule breaking. And that kind of leads to the second half of the movie, which is she is introduced to an element of chaos into their group. And as things progress, unsurprisingly, the group is going to come in contact with the bad group that essentially has been obviously taking out these other farms. So there's going to be a threat. There's no surprise in a movie or a show like this. Walking Dead would be, like I said, the prime example. We've had tons of these kind of siege, apocalypse, monster, zombie, whatever you want to be, whatever the threat is. You've had these kind of movies where you have your main group that you are with in a siege situation, and if they're not going to get in a fight, what's the point of the movie? You know they're going to get invaded and they're going to have to fight them. So the question of this kind of movie becomes, is the enemy entertaining and threatening, and is the fight entertaining and worth it? This is a yes or no situation on this. I'm in the middle on this one, because I'd say this is almost a 2-hour movie, first of all, probably a little long. unless you're going to make this a series and expand it out, we probably don't need quite so much. I know they're trying to character develop the main family, but they're pretty easy to figure out. Like they're not really playing complex characters. They're types that we've seen in these sorts of stories many times. So you can establish the world and the basic characters pretty quickly for a story like this, and then get to the meat of the action. I think it takes a long time to get there, which I think is to its detriment. So I would say the first hour or first half of this movie, pretty much character development, world building, and I could have probably got that done to my satisfaction in about 20 minutes. So I would say it's the first half is definitely the big fail of this movie. The second half, though, it does pick up quite a bit. When it actually, the threat becomes a thing, it's pretty good at it. For a lower budget movie, it's pretty threatening and it's pretty exciting and pretty entertaining. Now, with all that being said, I have a couple of caveats, and one of them is there are a couple moments where our key characters are in a direct threat, and for some reason at that moment, this evil group, I don't know what we're going to call them, these invaders, decide to not kill them immediately. And everything we've been shown is they're vicious. They don't wait. They just kill, and they have a reason. I'm not going to tell you what the reason is. That's a reveal, so you can enjoy that. Kind of adds to their menace. But they don't they don't wait around. If they get in front of you and they have the upper hand, they're going to basically just kill you, or they're going to hurt you enough that they have control over you. And there's a couple moments in this movie where that situation is presented, and they do that thing that I hate in movies. It's the kind of like the evil guy in Bond, like giving a big giant speech and setting up the weird mechanism to kill Bond, and then walking out of the room before he sees it actually work. Same kind of thing. They're standing there and they have our heroes dead to rights in this movie, and they take some beats and don't kill the people that are in front of them. And you're watching it and you're like, that's because this is plot armor. And that's so somebody at the last second can save them and kill these bad guys. So that is frustrating in a movie like this, because the stakes and the evilness of the bad guys is pretty well drawn. And you gotta have some true stakes where pretty quickly we see that, oh, any of our characters are at risk, and they hedge on that. And I think that's a big mistake in a movie like this. That would have just upped it an extra notch. All that being said, the second half is pretty entertaining and the action's pretty good. I'm probably going to go, I think I'll go 3.5, 3. I'm torn. It's definitely a mild recommend. It's not a strong recommend. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to go 3. That first half is just way too long and way too tedious. And the second half isn't good enough because of what I just talked about to quite save it and put it up into a 3.5 or 4 range. I'm going to put 3 stars because I think for some people, this might really hit the stride for them. And I think that Greg and Eric will definitely like this more than me because it's more their style of movie. But I think for that average person off the street who's seen these kind of things before, there's not enough new stuff here to quite push it over the top. Now, what new stuff would I want? Here's the thing. This is the thing that bugged the heck out of me. I don't know if they're going to mention it all. I can't imagine how you do. Okay, the movie's named 40 Acres. Now, what do you think? What do you think when you hear 40 Acres? Because we all know that, we don't all know, but many of us would know the phrase 40 acres and a mule, which was the promise made during Restoration, right? Supposed to give the formerly enslaved Americans, African Americans, were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule as reparation. So you've got this movie where our main cast, our family, our kind of constructed family, you don't quite know all the dynamics, but they all care for each other and they're going to fight and die for each other in this farm. They're all either African American or they're Native American. There is a movie called 40 Acres, and almost I think pretty much every attacker is white. I'm trying to think if that's true or not. I might be wrong about that. There's quite a few. Either way, it's such a charged term to make the title of your movie with the setup that makes you wonder, did this movie really have a lot more political allegory originally? Now, I guess you could really look at a very veiled political allegory here, but this seems to me to be like a straight up like alternate future or something. Like, why isn't this movie going, I don't know, I'm not rewriting the movie. Was there an uprising of some sort? Did somehow people actually get their reparation, and now society is just in this crazy post-apocalyptic civil war, and bands of marauding white men are trying to take it back. Now, I know that sounds cheesy and terrible, but you're putting this really charged political, racially vibrant term as the title of your movie, and you're not really using that in any way meaningfully in the movie. And I think that was a mistake. To me, it's like the movie Civil War by Garland, which I really didn't like because it didn't take any sides. And people are like, oh, that's not the point. The point is, how this is just going to happen, how bad America could be. It doesn't matter how we got there. It's just bad. And essentially it just becomes follow the reporters and say war is bad war. And so we know war is bad and terrible. So how do you have this whole thing about the Civil War in America and not discuss the sides of that Civil War in a new Civil War? Same thing here. You have this thing called 40 Acres with this racially charged idea, and you don't really explore it. And it just becomes essentially a Walking Dead-ish post-apocalyptic siege movie. That's great. Just name it something else then. Don't even bring up the idea. Just call it, I don't know what you want to call it, Death Farm, something else terrible, whatever. I'm going on a big aside, but it did really bother me, and I feel like it was a huge missed opportunity to make this a way more unique and memorable and interesting and audacious movie than it is, which is just an okay movie that's been done in a lot of ways before. So 3 stars for 40 Acres. That's my last movie of the week.